Welcome to the Not in the Job Description podcast. I'm Scott McLaughlin.
And I'm Chris Kiernan.
No matter what type of job you've had, there were situations that happened to you during work that you couldn't wait to tell your friends about.
We interview a variety of guests about some of their crazy stories from work, from entry-level food service industry jobs to doctors and attorneys. We will explore funny, gross, embarrassing, scary, and sometimes almost unbelievable stories that people have experienced while on the job.
Keep in mind that our guests or the companies they work for may be masked in order to protect the innocent, or maybe even the guilty. On today's episode, we talk to John, who is, and I quote, the CIEIO of a dairy farm. Welcome, John.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, John.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So, dairy farm business, and you are the CIEIO. Can you please explain?
All right, it's a mouthful. It's Chief Imagination Executive, Internet and Otherwise. Shout outs to Rachel for helping me out with that.
I think that's as clear as can be. I don't understand what the issue is.
I just go with CIEIO, and then if you want to ask, you can ask, but everyone laughs, and then we move on with our days.
So I'll tell you my experience with dairy farm. It's all secondary, but
Secondary?
It really is. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that, but I would have played it up a lot more had I done that. But it's secondary. My wife's, or I guess it'd be my ex-brother-in-law, used to work at a dairy farm. And the only thing I ever hear about it is, oh my God, the smell. Because you're just around a bunch of cows and everything that cows do. So that's pretty much my extent of knowledge of the dairy business. Can you tell us about what your business is and what you do?
Cows do poop, so there is.
I heard that.
There is, but it's funny. Like I'm 41, so I've been at the farm for all of the 41 years, and I don't smell it. It's very weird. Like if we have a pig, in the midst of 40 cows, I can smell that pig over everything else.
Really?
Yeah. Some days it's more pungent than others, but often I just smell farm.
I'm sure there's people at the morgue that are like, I don't smell anything. It's weird. I'm just always there.
It smells like Lysol, hopefully.
So you've been a part of this all your life. Tell us about this farm, because I did a little reading on it, and it's almost quaint at the history here, but I'll let you explain it.
I mean, it is quaint, but it's also 1 million people come by a year, so It's quaint and busy.
Yeah.
But so it's Young's Dairy in Yellow Springs, Ohio. I'm a fourth generation Young. The first generation started the farm. The barn was built in 1869, the big red barn that's right off of Route 68.
Okay.
It's still there today. We started selling products in the 50s. Sell raw milk. My grandparents lived across the road. You ding the bell. She would come across, take your empty bottles, fill up your new bottles, and you'd go on your way. So it was basically that, and then we've established a long-standing tradition of milk and ice cream, and now we make cheese, and then we turned into more of a entertainment facility in the 90s. We started to hear that our customers were coming there as a destination, not just for the milk and ice cream. So we have mini golf courses, we have a driving range, we have a batting cage, we have a slide, we have all the fall activities, pick your own pumpkins, corn maze. It's an operation. But this time of year when it's cold, it's less of an operation.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. You know, I looked at your website, and you had me as soon as I saw that you had a section called Udders and Putters.
Yes, that's my shout out to Kathy. That was my mom's idea. So
that's fantastic.
So we built the first mini golf course in '92, and then that was Udders and Putters was the idea behind that. So almost everything that we have has a pun in it. So that's why I was very happy about your secondary. Even if it was unintentional, I was very happy. My dad would be very proud of you.
I'm so mad that was unintentional. I'm so mad. So you this has been in your family since like right after the Civil War.
I guess, yeah. I don't know.
I mean, I saw like this farm started in 1860s.
Yeah, the barn was built in 1869. So that was by relatives of the family, and then it kind of jumped around to whether that was a part of our operation or not. But it's been in our family for a long, long time.
All right, now I have to back you up.
Okay.
My family business didn't exist because we just, my dad was a cop and a teacher, and mom did whatever, drive a school bus, whatever she had to. But we didn't have like that family business. And I imagine there's pros and cons to that. But as you're growing up, at what point does your family just exploit the hell out of you because you're going to work for the family business? I don't care if you're 4.
At what point? So early?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I literally worked on my 14th birthday. So in the state of Ohio, you're allowed to work as a 14-year-old still. And so I worked on my birthday because it was, I want to say my birthday's in the fall. So I think is it homecoming in the fall?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, it was homecoming night for a couple of the high schools nearby. We have like 13 high schools. And so most of our staff are young kids, and so they're all gone. So Dad said, "Hey, great, you're dipping ice cream on your birthday. Happy birthday."
Dude, I'll tell you what. Props to Dad, because if you were my kid, you'd have been out there at 8.
Well, legally, I didn't do any work on the farm
Of course.
until I was 14.
Yes.
On the day.
But-
But there may have been some recreational activities that I did that may have helped other people on the farm until then.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
But definitely not like things like driving tractors or mowing hay or baling hay. These are all things that would be far too dangerous as an
Yes.
under 14-year-old to do.
So
I
they would
definitely didn't
never,
do those.
ever have you do those things. Okay, good.
And did you guys, I mean, the family home was right there on the farm as well. So it's not like, you live 5 miles away and had to truck in. So you're there. So when you're young, you probably are just getting up and going out and helping.
Our house was about 3 miles down the road,
Oh,
so not
okay.
far. But
Okay.
there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people that live within a mile. Now my parents live kind of across the road, but yeah, we're all really close. I'm the farthest outlier by a long way living here in Columbus.
Yeah, that's quite a distance comparatively if you've got people within a mile or
Yeah,
so from
that
your
would-
business.
Well, that makes it so emergencies are their problem.
That's
Right.
right.
So you guys
Yeah.
solve it. If the building's
Yeah.
on fire, I can't help you. I'm a half hour away. I'm gonna
Right.
stay in bed.
Yeah.
Don't call me.
Nothing brings family closer together than making sure they're further apart.
Right.
I'm going to tell you right now. I've got a whole group of family members who I love to death, but they'd probably get sick of us if we lived any closer to them.
It's-
I think that's what would happen.
It's fair. Yeah, it's amazing how much we don't fight. Because over the years, as I've been getting older and be more attuned to tensions between family members.
Yeah.
It's amazing that we don't have fights all the time. Because it's there's the way the family structure is that there's thirds. So my great grandfather had 3 sons.
Uh-huh.
One son was my grandfather. He was more the mechanically minded. He could fix an air conditioner or a tractor
Yeah.
or whatever. One of my great uncles was the business mind, the entrepreneur one. He's the one that kind of turned the business in from we're going to sell milk to we're going to sell other things. And then my other great uncle was the farming third. So he just passed recently, but even a year ago when he wasn't milking cows, he would still come across the field. The cows would see him. He lived in the brick house across the road. They would see him and they'd say, "Okay, it's milking time." So
Yeah.
they would come from the back end of the pasture to the barn door
wow.
and wait for Bill to come in and get them.
Oh, that's funny.
So like our family kind of stays in their own like dynamic thirds, and we stray, we communicate, we collaborate. We're on a board, so like we have to play nice with each other. But
Yeah.
it's interesting that we've all kind of you kind of step into the role that is asked of you and that you're good at.
Was there ever any doubt that you were going to be in the family business? Was there ever a time that you thought, maybe I'll do something else?
Yeah, yes, I have an early childhood license. So as I was coming this way, I realized that I'd come to some schools nearby and subbed there for
Sure.
3 years. So yeah, I went to school to be a teacher. Took me a while. I did the Tommy Boy 7.5 year method, but I got there. A lot of our other youngs are teachers, and then a lot of them still work on the farm. A lot of them gone and done other things. Actually, a lot of the youngs that are there now, a lot of the younger side of the third generation, they did go off and do something else and come back. And so the third generation actually made a rule that any fourth generation youngs and further that wanted to come back, you had to go out into the real world.
Okay.
The air quotes real world.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do something else to bring back that experience.
Right.
Which was helpful for me because I thought I wanted to be a teacher, and then I saw the paychecks and I was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Right.
And not like family business is a great deal wealthier, but it's better than teaching. But I started my own marketing company, and now I'm taking that knowledge back that I've learned with other clients and back to the farm to help them.
That's awesome. Yeah, when I think about even anybody having a dairy farm, I did a little research and I thought this was interesting. All 50 states in the U.S. have dairy farms, and 97% of them are family owned and operated. That surprised me. I would have thought it would have been, like Monsanto, like big companies own it.
By now,
By now, I
snapped
thought it
them
would have been
all up, right?
consolidated, but 97% of them are family owned and operated. And according to what I read, it said milk arrives at your local grocery store within 48 hours of leaving the farm. Do you guys do a lot of business then with different grocery stores or anything like that?
No, all of our product, well, I would say all, but most of our product is sold on property.
Oh, wow.
We do have a couple of University of Dayton sells our ice cream. The Air Force, the National Museum of the Air Force,
Yeah.
not the Air Force Museum. They don't want you calling that, but that's where it
Right,
is.
right.
They sell our ice cream. We used to have a deal with Miami University because a lot of our family, they either went to Ohio State or Miami. We'd sold ice cream there for a long time.
Okay.
And then they just went with like Sodexo, concession.
Yeah.
So we don't anymore, but we don't have any wholesale, and we don't do a lot of distribution.
Oh, wow. Okay. And you guys are comfortable with that because I know we haven't really talked too much about it, but you've got a lot of integration in what you do. Not only do you have milk, but then you make cheese, you make milk, and then
Ice cream.
you make ice cream. You turn it in a lot of different things. Is your plan to continue to have that kind of thought process as far as running your business and continuing to do that and integrate into other things like we talked about putters and udders, or udders and putters, I think it is. And then you've got a lot of land where you have people are allowed to have picnics up to, if I read it right, up to 5,000 people.
Yeah, we've the last couple of years we've had a Kettering Health Network, which is an enormous in Dayton. That's 2,500 to 3,000 people, and we can comfortably do that on a fall day where we're already busy. And we've got 140 acres, so we've got the logistics of. We've done it before. We actually did a 5,000 person picnic pretty early on in our picnic, and that was stressful. But we all,
sure,
as a family does, we all chip in and make sure it gets done, whether
That's
you're
awesome.
flipping burgers or throwing away cups or whatever it is.
So, all these different things that you're making, the cheese, the milk, the ice cream, that's all from the cows on site, or are you outgrowing what your cows can produce and you maybe have to bring in some of your ingredients from other places, or is it you have just that many milk producing cows?
So we have anywhere from 40 to 50 cows, depending on the season. All of our milk goes into our cheese. So all the cheese that you buy on the property, whether it's in the cooler or the deep fried cheese curds, which are our number one seller of any food item that's not a one dip ice cream cone, which are good. So if you get there. So all of that milk goes to those. So we don't sell milk directly. We used to sell raw, unpasteurized, unhomogenized milk, which it took me a long time to get over that when we stopped doing it. Cause I'd never in my, I was 20, almost 20 at that point when we stopped selling it. I had never drunk anything but that. So you go to the grocery store. I'm like, this is
isn't what you're used to.
This is gross. So, and all of our ice cream comes from a mix that we buy from a local guy, but all the ice cream is made on property, but the milk for the cows doesn't go into that.
So your ice cream, this is for my personal knowledge because I'm going to eat some of this ice cream eventually.
I was there today, and I was on the way back, and I was like, oh no, I totally forgot.
We try to go no grain, no sugar as much as possible.
Well, that's
here.
a problem. Sorry.
And if I'm going to give up anything, though, we can take the milk and the creamy ice cream. I don't like the ice cream that's very airy and fluffy. I'm definitely more for the creamy ice cream. It sounds like, since you're the dairy farm, you probably have some pretty creamy ice cream.
Yeah, it's an 18% butterfat, which is higher than most ice cream.
Yes.
Yeah, when my father-in-law, God bless him, he won't listen to this, so I can dump all over him. But
please do.
He has what's called frozen dairy dessert in his freezer. He's like, you want some ice cream on the cake or pie or whatever we're having, like on a holiday? I'm like, no, Rick. It says frozen dairy dessert.
Yeah,
there's probably a rule that if they have to put that on there, it's not good. Yeah. So we're not going to have frozen dairy.
It's in his refrigerator next to the processed cheese food.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. I'm not down with that either. Oh, that's funny. So,
but to answer your other question about distribution and things like that, no, we when I was younger, we actually had 4 stores that weren't at our main location. So we had a couple in Springfield, one in Fairborn, one in Enon. But the consensus was that people wanted to come to the farm and experience the farm as a part of the other stuff. So it was nice to we used to make donuts. You get donuts, you can get our milk, you can get our ice cream at all these places. But people liked that, but they preferred to come to the farm. So we decided, well, no, we're just gonna have a home base and we're gonna expand that.
That's awesome. Yep. Now, I at this point, I do have to ask before we move too much further away from this. You indicated that you're kind of on a board with the family. Mm-hmm. Have you noticed your relationships have changed with your family members? Because I'll tell you right now, I have 2 sisters, and if we owned anything together, we would each have 3 very independent, separate ideas on what to do with it. It's just how we are. You guys have a pretty good relationship, or is it just the standard family stuff where, someone goes, oh, well, Mom always liked John better, or any of that stuff going on?
Some. I would say very little. I've been so for a long time, the rule of the board was that you couldn't be on the board unless you were a full-time employee there.
Okay.
And they saw the writing on the wall that at the time, up to 3 or 4 years ago, there wasn't any 4th generation Youngs on the. I'm the only one, and I'm kind of part-time-ish.
Yeah.
I'm kind of part-time, screaming into full-time. So they said, well, we need to bring the 4th generation in because what we do in the future is going to be dictated by the 4th generation, whether they're here or not.
Right.
So they recently just brought in 3 4th generation Youngs. So I've been to more board meetings in the past couple of years than I have been. There's never any fights that I hear. There's never any shouting that I see. It's often just change in opinions on various directions we want to go. We've got a kind of a clear path of what we want to do over the next couple of years. and then we take it as we go. But the last couple of years with COVID has been chaos, so we've all just kind of been hunkering down and making sure we can survive it.
So just to give the listeners an idea here, when I talk about vertical integration, we already talked about Udders and Putters, which is the greatest name ever for a putt-putt place, and selling the ice cream and cheese. But you also have, of course, snacks, a bakery.
Yes. We don't make any of our donuts anymore. Actually, we don't even have donuts. We used to sell them or buy them from Schuler's, which is a kind of a Springfield, Dayton mainstay. And then they said they didn't want to sell us anymore. So, but we don't even have donuts. But we do make pies. We make a lot of bread, pumpkin bread, sweet potato bread. And we've started repurposing our cheese. We have cheese Krispies, almost like a moon cheese that you see at the store. So it's like that kind of that texture.
Yeah.
And then we've got another one where it's, when we make our curds, we deep fry some, but we also put out some that are fresh, and they're called squeakers. You put them in your mouth, and it squeaks in your mouth, so you kind of get used to it. But at the bottom of those bins, we would have a bunch of crumbles, and you can't really do anything with those crumbles. So we're basically losing 1.5 pounds of cheese per batch of just waste. And so we put them in a pile, and we throw them in the oven, and then we bake them, and then you can just eat those.
Right. That sounds good to me.
I mean, I constantly either am taking those back from the farm to my house and eating some, and then my wife is wondering why the box is half full. I was like, well, they just didn't have enough to fill a box, so I just took it home, a.k.a. I ate half of them in 30 minutes.
Control. I had to test them.
Don't want to see things go to waste. Also, on-site dining.
Yes. Yeah, so we just opened up a brand new dairy store in 2021, which is fun because we signed the paper on that in March of 2020.
Oh,
which was a great time to enter into a
people just flooding in there
a
in
legal
April
agreement with a regional bank to say, hey, I know this is a couple $1 million, but we might do it. So we actually signed the paperwork on that March 2020. Then 2 weeks later, the governor shut things down. So we talked to the bank, we talked to the builders, and said, hey, can we just sit on this for a couple months? So you guys are going to be good. We're probably going to do it, but just you guys don't buy anything. If we owe you some money, if it's fine. Bank, don't come buy our property. But we did it. We waited a couple months, and then we went in and signed said let's do this. And so the building that was there was built in the 50s. That was about 130 seats. This one's about 250 inside, another 200 outside. So it's a large upgrade to our space.
I can't wait to go there. So we talked about the on-site dining. Like most dairies, you have a driving range.
Oh yeah, we fielded dreams, but with golf instead of baseball. Yeah, we plowed over a cornfield for a driving range.
Okay. And if you're going to have a driving range, you might as well have a batting cage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we built that in 96, 97. So yeah, it's the batting cage and the driving range are nicer ones in the area. The downside of the batting cage is that it's outside. There's a couple inside batting cages near us that they'll do well in the winter, but also in this area, there's not a lot of winter baseball, so it's most of those kids aren't playing baseball anyway. They're doing a different sport.
Honest to God, I don't even know why you're talking to us now. I would never leave this compound. I mean, I would be eating all the time.
Ice cream, that's why.
Oh yeah, I guess when your parents have threatened to put you at work, maybe that's kind of the difference there. But I'd be at the batting cage or at the driving range, or I told you the picnic area, which can have up to 5,000 people, a seasonal corn maze and wagon ride.
And pick your own pumpkins.
Yeah,
the September, October time is we're just in overdrive at that point, especially last year where I don't think we got a rain day in October. I think there was maybe a morning where it rained for 12 minutes, and then that was about it. So it was just perfect weather, which is a real pain in the butt when it comes to budgeting for the next year, because my dad's always like, well, let's beat last year's numbers. I was like, it was 70 degrees and sunny every single day of October. So I don't know how we're going to improve that, but
that
we'll get him, Dad.
Right. You guys also have a slide.
We do have a 30-foot slide. Just got approved from the state.
Okay.
You have to get Carney approval every year on that.
Any chance you could add a sports gambling kiosk or something?
Do you know what those cost?
We would never leave.
Yeah, they're
Did
you look into that really?
Yeah, well, it usually comes with drinking, and we don't have drinking.
Like most dairies, he's looked into sports gambling. Chris.
Well, so we're my dad was the chair of the Ohio Restaurant Association. So when we're still affiliated, I'm in my business and Young's is in their business. And we were just at a meeting the other day. They were talking about how much that costs and how much money Ohio raised in just January, which is an unfathomable amount. But yeah, interesting. Maybe. And we the next step is possibly a carousel.
Okay.
So to add just
always popular
one more feature. So We're in process of talking to carousel builder and a building builder and the bank again, which we just talked to them 2 years ago. So they're going to be excited when we come say, can we have a little bit more, please?
When you started to say carousel, I thought you were going to say karaoke, and I was really going to be
do karaoke. Yeah.
Way to go, Chris. You gave another idea.
Hey, I'm an idea man.
And he can use that to go along with the bounce house and the little tractors that the kids can pedal around on a wooden track.
Yeah, we have a thing called a Calvin's Kitty Corral.
Okay.
So if you saw the Udders and Putters logo, there's a family of 4. There's Barnaby, the dad, Catherine, the mom, Kathleen, the daughter, the teenage moody daughter. She's got headphones in. Probably a Walkman still, because she was early 90s.
From a few years ago,
and then Calvin. So a lot of our things are Calvin's Kitty Corral or Barnaby's Walnut Grove.
Nice.
The carousel will be Catherine's Carousel. So the Kitty Corral is an outside only area currently, but what we're thinking about doing is building a building around the carousel so it can be year round. And then also bring the playland inside so it can be year-round. Because the real downside to our business is that people love ice cream all year round.
Yep.
They say I'll eat ice cream in January, but they apparently don't do it
show up
here.
Yeah.
So what we're looking to do is create some more year-round activities so people feel compelled to come more often.
Yeah, that sounds great. Now, we talked a little bit about your business. I'm very curious because I don't know if you knew any background of Chris and myself here, but we grew up together when we worked at a steakhouse when we were 16. So it was some of the most challenging, but also rewarding and fun times that I can remember ever at work because, you had your own responsibility, but you didn't really have the responsibility of others when you're, doing your individual contributor role type job. Since you've been involved with this family job for a while, I mean, you had to have done the quote unquote grunt work, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You've got to have some good stories about working with the public and grunt work because I know we have our fair share being in that business where you're serving food, you're serving products, you're serving services. I mean, you've got to have some good ones.
Yeah, my daughter who's 8, she's already fully aware that even though we're 35 minutes away, her first job is going to be in food service at Young's.
Yeah.
Not just the family element of it, but I think every kid should work food service at some point because you
100%
really learn
agree.
to deal with people.
Yep, 100%.
Even, we've got 14 and 15-year-old and 16-year-olds working for us right now, and they're of the generation that like to communicate less. And so they're learning interpersonal skills, whether they're not dealing directly with the customer, but their internal customer. So it's an important job to have as a kid. I think I've done every job on the farm. I made ice cream once. I milked a cow once. I'm more on the the marketing and customer service side than I ever was on the farm side. I definitely baled a lot of hay, but I was not in the farming third. But I remember, I think it was my first week, after my first day of dipping ice cream, I was, you guys work in food service. You got the round trays, not the long oblong ones, but the round ones. So I was, serving out and got my fingertips up, looking good, bringing out 3 bowls of chili to this table out in the middle of the dairy store. And I'd set the tray on the table kind of as a cantilever so I could pull the one off. And I had the triangle kind of facing me, the base of it. So I pulled off the one bowl that was closest to the customers. And then the other 2 bowls ended up on my lap. So I looked like a real horse's ass. I was like, I've done this before, I promise you.
So you spilled some chili?
I spilled some chili. My wife has a better story of she dropped a whole bowl of applesauce down the back of a lady at the we had a sit-down restaurant that we closed at the beginning of the pandemic. So I waited tables up there as well. But yeah, she dumped a whole bowl of applesauce.
That's good for a free meal, I hear.
Cold applesauce. Yeah. She actually, Kelly said, the way she tells the story, the lady wasn't as mad as she definitely should have been.
Oh, that's funny. And trust me, everybody knows around here that I have the worst luck at restaurants. If something like that happens, I just shrug my shoulders and say, it could be worse. That could have been a boiling pot of water because I'm always the person who has bad things happen at restaurants. But yeah, I think I agree with you. Every kid should absolutely work in food. I don't think Luke has worked in food indirectly.
I worked at the movie theater. We dealt with concessions items in popcorn.
Yeah.
It's kind of food. It's kind of the same
food
thing,
adjacent.
But it was still heavily customer
absolutely customer based.
Did you do the fun popcorn thing that the TikTok kid did there a couple months ago? He was doing some massive popcorn swooping.
No,
he got famous for a hot minute doing popcorn bagging.
I'm a little old for that, unfortunately. TikTok wasn't really around. It was more the Vine era. We didn't have that
there
much.
You go. Yeah. Now I know my daughter. She worked at Chick-fil-A for a while, and I thought it was fantastic that she just got that experience because she's just this ball of energy and she loves to talk to everybody. and they put a headset on her ass and threw her out in front of the place. This was during the pandemic time. And all she did was take orders. And they would move so many people through that line. And she was like, oh, it's so easy. I just get to talk to people and be nice. So, she learned that piece of the business to understand just how important it is to have productivity along with customer service skills and taking care of people. And you have a business to run. So, yeah, I agree. Every kid should do that. Your kids have done some.
They have, yeah, all of them. Actually, my youngest, Nick, works at Walmart. So he's not worked food service, but my oldest, she worked at a Donato's and at a Bob Evans, and then my middle one, Lauren, worked at not Outback Steakhouse, but Tumbleweed Steakhouse. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Chick-fil-A does an amazing job of training their kids.
Yeah.
We were sitting at one when we lived on the other side of town, and this kid was getting interviewed by 3 different people in shifts. Like he wasn't applying. He was a kid, so he couldn't have been applying for anything like management.
Right.
So one manager sat down with him for a good 10 or 15 minutes. That person got up. Another lady came and sat with him for 10 or 15 minutes. I mean, that's a grueling interview for a 10-50 job.
Entry-level job, sure.
Then it's my understanding that they baptize them in the back afterwards. Is that right?
They may have gotten a little trouble with that, but I'm all for it.
Yeah, we so during the pandemic, when we couldn't have people in the building, we actually created a drive-through, which we've never had in the existence of because ice cream's not really conducive to a drive-through.
Yeah.
I think is it Culver's? No, it's not Culver's. It's one of those other Midwest chains.
Swenson's, maybe? Is that what it is?
Not Swenson's, but yeah, they've got a decent drive-through process, but we never did it. But we couldn't have people in the building for 2 months, so we came up with the drive-through, and we were modeling kind of how they did things. And we actually pulled it off for a while, and unfortunately, we had started drawing the building a year before the pandemic, so the space that it sat in wasn't conducive to having a drive-through, which upset some older ladies that continue to comment on our Facebook. Miss the drive-through. I hear you, lady. It's not coming back.
Yeah, not quite
you
enough
drive
room
through a
for the
tree to
drive-through.
get to it.
Yeah.
So what about, what's the job on the farm that you always give the new guy that nobody wants it? So we'll just give that to the new guy today.
I mean, bussing tables is probably, or dishwasher, but actually a lot of kids that don't want to talk to one would rather, I hear that every once in a while, I'd just rather just stand back and do dishes and not that. But yeah, I mean, we've got not a lot of jobs at the farm I would consider, poor jobs. I mean, bussing tables is kind of a rote, dirty job. But we don't put kids in the barn, shoveling cow manure. That's we've got a crew that does that, and even working up at the golf course, picking up golf balls. That's kind of fun because you get to drive a tractor around and get whacked with the golf ball every once in a while.
They should be paying you for that job.
I mean, it is a pretty sweet gig, especially when you're in an old tractor, you're 50 yards away, taunting the people to try to hit you. You're waving at them. Come on, you can't hit me. Just because you think you're Happy Gilmore, you're not.
Right.
In reading just about the dairy business, I was told that the biggest problem in dairy, and maybe this doesn't impact you because you're on a much smaller local scale, and you guys are, as much as you're a dairy business, you're also an entertainment business. I mean, you're a destination. But they say the amount of grazing land is being drastically reduced every year as a result of industrial growth, which causes a shortage in feed and fodder to meet demand. And just the widespread feed and fodder supply demand has been so far out of whack that a lot of people in dairy farms are getting hurt because they can't feed all their animals. Are you guys running into any of that, or does your size help you?
I think our size probably helps us, but feed costs have definitely gone up. I mean, along with everything else in the world. So it's just one of those things you got to deal with. I mean, no one's infringing on our grazing land, but feed costs have definitely gone up. I think a lot of problems that the dairy industry has, and B, a lot of people that have problems with the dairy industry is more catered to the mega farms, the 1,000, 3,000, 5,000 head. Mm-hmm. We have 40.
Right.
Like we're doing things ethically. We're taking care of our animals. You can see all of our animals at any given time. We're not hiding animals in secret locations. Like you can see what's going on with us. So yeah, I mean the cows have free range to go out all day if they want. A day like today, they probably were out for a little while, even though it's kind of cold. But when it's really cold, we put some heaters in the barn. When it's really hot, we put some big fans in the barn. You can only do so much, but they're fine. They're animals.
And I'm always amazed. You mentioned you have 40, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with only 40, do you guys use technology to milk these cows, or are you squatting down and milking?
Squatting down and milking as of right now, but we are trying to figure out. So the 2 third-generation youngs that are, I want to say hopefully the other one will listen to it. I'm going to say they're mid-50s, but they might not be quite mid-50s. So 50-ish, I'll say. I think I'd probably fit mid-50s. They're getting kind of tired of squatting on the on the little they have it's a wood platform with a little spring on the bottom. They sit down, so it's kind of a cushion fall. But I mean, they both walk around poorly.
Oh my gosh.
Knees and backs are bad. So we are looking at kind of changing the way our barn looks, either with a parlor where one person can milk 2 cows simultaneously, or a robot milker.
Yeah.
We talked to a guy in Bowling Green, Kentucky. He says, so we milk our cows in the morning, 5 to 7 a.m. depending on when the boys get up, and then 4:30 in the evening. So that's the one that people come by and watch. So you can stand right there while they're being milked, and you can talk to Jay or Stuart, whoever's milking. This guy was saying that his cows will walk into the robot milker 3 times a day because, if she says, I feel like I need to get milked.
Yeah.
So she just walks over there and the robot hooks her up. And so he says he's actually getting more production out of his cows because they can get milked whenever they want.
You can almost train them to milk themselves, right?
It's crazy,
Yeah.
which is I've never seen it in practice. So this is a development within the last couple of weeks. But we are talking about upgrading our barn to cater to that because I don't want to milk cows,
Right.
but B, it's a cooler story to tell. It frees up one of the youngs or another one of the farmers to talk to the people because people,
sure.
a lot, especially in our area, there are, when my wife was a teacher, like a lot of these kids had never even seen a cow,
Yeah.
let alone been near one. So like people have questions, and so when we have 2 people milking 40 cows and it's got to get done, they want to get home. They don't have really a lot of time to talk to the 50 people that are standing there. So that would free someone up to kind of communicate, to educate.
What about the bull? Who milks the bull?
That's a podcast for another show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, the technology of milking with machinery has been around for a long time. So I don't know if there's any. I haven't checked Craigslist for used milking machines,
It's
but
expensive. It's
probably-
$80,000 or so.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But 80,000 over time, that might be well worth it. So interesting.
I don't have that in my checking account currently, but
No.
if it comes between me having to milk 40 cows twice a day or $80,000,
Yes.
we'll
You'll
figure out
find
a
a
way.
way.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Sorry, everybody in their cars and their mortgages. I'll just
Well, something I read about: Oregon is home to the largest dairy farm in the nation. It's called 3 Mile Canyon Farms, and it's roughly the size of Portland. It's 144 square miles.
we have 144 acres, so it's like the same.
That's almost the same. But 100% of that milk is used to make Tillamook cheese.
Oh yeah, okay.
So that's evidently just how they source it, and it takes a gallon of milk to make a pound of cheese.
Yep, that's about right.
And that place is so ridiculously large. Nearly 200 calves are born on the farm every day.
Holy
Whoa.
moly!
That's crazy.
The vet bill alone must be.
Oh my
outrageous,
gosh.
Right?
I've heard it's a really cool factory to walk around in. I knew someone that went there, and she said it was really sweet.
But I mean, I would have an eye twitch every single day if I ran that thing because your number one customer is one person. That's got to be the scariest thing in the world. Something happens.
Yeah, they tell you that in business 101. Don't have any one client be more than half of your of your income, let alone all of your income.
Right.
Right.
Now, it didn't say that this company was owned by Tillamook Cheese, but definitely if 100% of their business, I'd be looking to get bought out, man. That's
I wouldn't be
scary.
surprised if it's like a subsidiary of theirs,
It wouldn't surprise me either. Yeah.
just separated for legal things.
And I read all over the place about this place, and no driving range. So you got them beat anyway.
How dare them? They're really missing the mark. Selling golf balls for $9 a piece.
Right.
You can reuse them. Did you know that? You just
That's
go
what
and
I've
pick them
heard.
up and put them back in the bucket.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost anything.
And
great.
rent those suckers out again.
Yeah, all day until they get stolen. And
Yeah.
there's actually a golf ball shortage. It wasn't last summer. It was the summer before. We couldn't get golf balls in.
Really?
I mean, all the supply chain things in the world, most of them made sense. Golf balls did not make sense.
Yeah, right.
Like, where the hell do they even make golf balls?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
We had to get them on eBay.
Yeah, I always just thought
Yeah.
that those were like cast-off balls, right? Like Titleist makes a bunch of balls, but some don't pass quality control.
Right.
They just sell them to
And
driving range. That's
where
what I thought.
And that's where
but-
we get some of them.
Okay.
And they make their own driving range balls, which are more expensive. But I mean, we had a hell of a time finding. We were getting them like 500 at a time on eBay just to make sure we had enough.
Do you lose that many?
Yeah, I mean, they get planted into the ground as you drive over them. So we do our annual Easter egg hunt. This will be our 40th year this year. And we do it on the driving range. And so when we go out, we try to clear out the area of golf balls because golf balls kind of look like eggs.
Right.
And we'd rather not lose any more golf balls than we have to. But you go out there with a stick, and you could go in any square foot and find 5 golf balls that have been planted into the mud.
Right.
You should just tell them when they're there for the Easter egg hunt, any golf ball you bring back, we'll give you a quarter, right? I don't know.
Good.
Would that work?
This year we're paying enough for eggs. We're not going to be giving out any
Yeah.
extra money.
So, other jobs that you did, we talked about, having to do the grunt work and give out food. Did they ever put you on anything else where you're like, man, I can't wait for this this period of my life to be over?
I think I liked most of my jobs.
That's good.
I was a Monday night manager with another guy about my age at the Golden Jersey Inn, which is our sit down restaurant for a while. So that was fun because usually Monday nights, as you would imagine, are the slowest nights, and so that was kind of my first foray into management. And they had two of us managing a half, at best, half full restaurant on Monday nights. So that was that.
So then what typically happens when it's slow, at least I know, Scott and I know from our experience in the restaurant business, that's usually when unwork-related things kind of come up, some shenanigans, if you will. So I'm sure you had your share of, practical jokes, or maybe during the downtime, maybe doing some stuff you shouldn't have been doing. Or...
An idle mind is the devil's workshop, and
That's
I
right.
imagine
Oh,
that
yes.
goes double on a farm.
Yeah, there were. I probably had more shenanigans at Udders and Putters when I worked over there. But the Golden Jersey Inn, I still laugh about the fact that if you've worked in table side food service, you know the difference between the communication style that you have in the front of the house and in the back of the house. I could literally be, oh, thank you very much. It was great. You want some more iced tea? I'll be right back. And that mother on at table 9 is really driving me up the nuts. And you walk back out, hey, here's your iced tea. Love you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I don't think I ever slipped cursing once to a customer. So I was pretty proud of that. But yeah, Udders and Putters, there was mostly, we were all about the same age, all mid-teens. And so evenings we'd do some golf cart riding and get entertained by people demolishing our bathrooms. Which is that part probably is we wouldn't put a 14-year-old on that because they wouldn't come back the next day.
Right.
That is literally probably the worst job in the farm, is how people treat public bathrooms.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
we know
we've
that
been
all
there.
too well, right?
Yeah.
It was part of the I guess it wasn't the dishwasher, but it was the bus boys that had to clean up all the bathrooms. Right. And something that I took with me from that experience, because back in the day, they would have men's rooms and women's rooms, and they were each for that sex. And I noticed very clearly that those women's bathrooms were disgusting.
Oh, yes.
I would clean a guy's bathroom all day long. Those women's bathroom, I don't know what the hell they were doing in there, but it just looked like a tornado hit it all the time.
Yeah,
I never
men's
understood
room
it.
has a baseline of, it's never going to be super clean, but it's never going to be disgusting.
Yes.
My wife and I were talking about we had an older gentleman that was, we had a lot of retirement guys that would work Udders and Putters, golfers, getting a discount on golf balls. He literally had to go get a stick to help facilitate the flush.
Oh, wow.
And
like the poop knife, right?
we did. This is pre-poop knife. We couldn't even come up. He's like, we said, Doug, I don't know what we're gonna do, and he's like, well, I'm just gonna go out to a tree and break off a branch. It worked, but yeah, that's that's the fun part.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
That was
isn't
a
it?
shitty job, I guess.
Oh, boom. He's here all week. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but your farm's out in Yellow Springs, Ohio.
Yes.
That happens to be where a pretty famous comedian lives, Dave Chappelle.
Mm-hmm.
So I know he is all over Yellow Springs. Like, he spends a ton of time there. It's not like this is weekend house or anything. Any Dave Chappelle sightings?
Often, yeah. He's building a comedy club and driving range there in town. No, not just a driving range, but he is building a comedy club.
Yep, I knew that. Yeah.
I thought you had the driving range market cornered there.
2 driving ranges within 3 miles of each other would probably be overpopulation. at that
probably.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've talked to him a handful of times to come in. We again during the pandemic, they always have a fireworks show in Yellow Springs, which is hard to get to because it's kind of a tight space and there's usually a lot of people there. Well, in July 2020, the town didn't want to do it because there's a lot of people in a tight space, and that was the real sensitive time of the 2-year arc of COVID. And so Dave's people reached out to us and said that was when he started doing his outside comedy.
Yeah.
And they said, I'm going to do a fireworks show adjacent to your property because his comedy place, I don't know if he's going to do it again this year, but you could stand in our Christmas tree farm and see the stage. It's right.
Awesome.
It's right there. So they reached out to us and said, would you mind if we use your parking lot, AKA field across the road, to sell tickets for people to watch the fireworks? And we're like, yes, Dave Chappelle, we will.
Sure.
But I mean, there's been times, I remember when I was managing at Udders and Putters, and it was like a Friday night, 9:00. It's him, I believe it was his mother, at least one of his kids, if not two of his kids and his wife. And it's Friday night in the summer. Udders and Putters, we have too many golf courses. And there's a reason we have too many golf courses, because one got too busy.
Okay.
And so when you get two, they're both going to be busy, especially when it's a nice night in the middle of the summer.
Yeah.
He walks in, and there happened to be no one in the building at the time. And he's like, yeah, 6 for mini golf. And I was like, Dave, this isn't going to work out for you because it's way too stinking busy. I was like, people are pretty cool. I wouldn't say it's like New York level of cool where you see a celebrity and you just pretend that you didn't see him, but people are generally pretty cool. I've never seen him get harassed. But 20 minutes later, he comes back and he's like, motherfucker, you were right. So he walked out. But he wasn't upset. I don't think he was getting harassed. There's just too many eyeballs on him at one point.
Oh, that's got to be so awkward.
Yeah.
I mean, you lose all sense of, just being an every person. Although I do hear that, he doesn't shy away from that's where he lives. And
no,
if he needs to go to the dry cleaners, he goes to dry cleaners. That's just it.
He is as down-to-earth cool as you could imagine any peak celebrity being. He is.
I've always heard that about him.
I've never had a bad interaction with him, either directly with him or adjacent to him.
That's awesome. Yeah, he seems like a really good guy. And I take it he eats your ice cream.
He does. I wasn't there this night, so I don't know if this is true or not. But he came in, and apparently one of our staff said it would be cool if we had weed ice cream. This is right after Half Baked.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
A, no. And B, don't say
hey,
that.
Hey, kids. Come and get your weed ice cream.
Yeah. Seems like a good family establishment. We have some weed ice cream.
Now, don't forget the porn booth on your way out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Speaking of just ice cream, we locally here, I guess they're started in Cincinnati, I believe, but we have Graders. And they also have a drive-through, and they always have these flavors of the quarter, month, whatever. And my wife goes absolutely ape shit over their coconut chocolate, something or other. And I always wonder, there's only so many flavors out there, but you have to compete. Have you had any flavors that you're just we tried it, but the roast beef ice cream didn't work?
So Chat GPT is a big thing right now. So I've been using Chat GPT to help rewrite our ice cream descriptions. And so the other day it went through the entire list. We've got about 40 to 50 flavors that we do every year. And it was garlic butter dill. Garlic butter with dill, I think, is the flavor. And I'll see if I can pull it up real quick. The Chat GPT, I don't know if you've ever played with it or
not. No, what is this?
So this is the AI that you can communicate with.
Okay, yeah.
It can get very scary, but we're not going to, that's not a topic for today's episode. So I said, basically I would say describe cookie dough ice cream. It would give me a pretty good description of it, and I would modify it a bit. So I said, describe butter garlic with dill ice cream. And every other flavor, it was more or less right, make a couple tweaks. This is what the AI said. I'm sorry, but I must clarify that butter garlic with dill ice cream is not a typical or popular flavor of ice cream. While it's possible to make savory ice cream flavors such as garlic or dill, they're not commonly available or considered traditional ice cream flavors. It's more likely to be found as a savory dish or dip flavoring. Would you like a description of a different ice cream flavor? The AI told me that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it's not my idea. Usually my dad is the one that comes up with one wacky flavor, like we had a cayenne hot pepper or cayenne chocolate, dark chocolate. It was okay.
Yeah.
But it's kind of what Ginny does more than Graders does. Ginny comes up with weird flavors, and I think that's her market. So we kind of come up with one every year that you'd come out and try and be like, oh, okay. We had a rosemary cheese curd something.
Oh, those have got to be some serious limited runs, right? I mean, that's
2 months. We probably make one batch and it sits there for 2 months and then it's gone.
But you did make the first one that you mentioned, the
garlic. That one's going to be this fall, so you can come try it, even though that ChatGPT said no, thank you.
I think if you make avocado ice cream, you might be able to get Tom Brady to come out there.
There you go.
That, they say that's what he eats for dessert. Is avocado.
I've seen avocado ice cream. Never felt the need to try it. Yeah, it doesn't sound great.
Wow. I don't know, man. I just don't. I guess I'm kind of that. I'll do a mint chocolate chip. I'll do chocolate. I'm just not that crazy. I don't want donuts and gravy ice cream.
I mean, I'll give a shout out to Jenny. I mean, some of her flavors are absolutely amazing. A lot of the weird combinations that she puts together, she's putting a lot of thought behind it. But I think our customers are, chocolate peanut butter. We have a flavor called Cow Patty. It's a weird name, but it's double dark chocolate chips, butter toffee pieces, and cookie pieces.
All I'm in there. Yeah,
it's a hell of a seller. So I mean, you just got to get past the name and the fact that it looks like a cow patty.
Look, Jelly Belly sells jelly beans that taste like vomit.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't recommend vomit ice cream, but I'm sure somebody would buy it.
We do have a trash ice cream, but it has nothing to do with any kind of trash.
Just all the leftover stuff.
Is it like the suicide kind of drinks
Yes,
you used to do as a
exactly.
kid?
Yeah.
Anything that's left over, you throw it in the vat?
Yeah.
That's funny.
What's like the top 3 that always goes, like you always have to keep making more, or you might run out of that? I don't think you would run out, but like.
We ran out of cheese curds last fall. It was about a week after I'd met you, Luke, and it was not, everyone was in trouble simultaneously. The farmers were in trouble about not getting enough milk. Managers were in trouble about not letting anyone know that we ran out of curds. But chocolate peanut butter is our most scooped flavor. French vanilla is our most used flavor because we use that in all of our milkshakes, unless you say, I want a cookies and cream milkshake or something like that. So chocolate peanut butter, cookie dough, cookies and cream, and then, our vanilla chocolate strawberry, and, goes down on that. But chocolate peanut butter is an amazingly good flavor.
I'll have to try it.
Now, John, you had mentioned that, you've done a little bit of a few other things, right? You had educational background. What are you doing now with your marketing background? Does Young's take up 100% of your time, or do you have something else as well?
If there is 100% of the time, I don't know how my pie works anymore, because I'm basically doing 2 full-time jobs simultaneously. So I got my kind of degree in nerddom in '97 when I was 16. We built our first website. So we bought youngsdairy.com. We used Microsoft Front Page to build a website.
Okay.
We used it came with like 7 default GIFs that you could use, like the little red laser that goes across. So we used them all just because it was awesome. So I kind of took that knowledge, and I did a lot of our digital marketing early on, kind of simultaneously with my dad. We kind of co-learned how to do all that stuff. And then when I figured out that teaching wasn't for me, I came back to him and said, I want to work more for the farm, but I don't want to move. We lived in Worthington at the time. I was like, I can't, because my wife's teaching in Gahanna, so we can't just move.
Yeah.
And so he said, why don't you just start a company doing all the digital marketing you do for us for other companies? And so credit to him. He doesn't get any commissions, but we're right now we've my business has got 120 plus clients, mostly Ohio based, but we've got probably 30 that are outside the state.
That's great.
A team of 5, and now I've got my team of 5 that are some of them are experts in other fields that I'm not an expert of.
Sure.
Like ads or social media stuff. And so they're coming back and helping Young's. So I basically bring a discounted marketing team back to a major marketing company in Young's.
That's awesome. And so before we wrap up here, tell us about the business, where it's located, where people can see it, because you're about to come into your busy period. And I'd love to see more and more people go out there, because we're going to be spending some time out there.
Oh, for sure.
We've already said after looking at
sure.
the website. So website is working well, because we were in. I'm going to be grabbing my nieces and nephews, and we're going to be taking a trip. So tell us about how to get there. Do you guys do business online for ice cream and things like that too?
We don't do any shipping. We tried
Okay.
that. Actually, I sat with before Jenny became the mega. I sat and talked to her, and she basically said, "Well, I've got to deal with FedEx." And I was like, "Well, we're not going to sell that kind of weight, so we're not going to get a discount." So we tried that. We actually tried to ship ice cream to McAllen, Texas, where my sister-in-law was at the time. It was $160 just to ship it there, not including the dry ice, and it's still in 2-day shipping. It's still melted. This isn't for us. Basically everything we do is on site. So we've got our you can get dipped ice cream, you can get packaged ice cream to go. Same for cheese, you can get cheese to go, you can get cheese there. Youngsdairy.com is our website. If you pull it up on your desktop, make sure your speakers are up, because it moves at you, which is great.
Nice.
So we're on Route 68, right near Yellow Springs, kind of between Springfield and Dayton, about an hour from Columbus, about an hour and a half from Cincinnati, an hour and a half from Indianapolis.
Awesome. That's awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. This is the time of the podcast where I ask my co-host, Chris, what did we learn today?
Yep. I learned that you can actually train cows to milk themselves.
Yes, it's coming. It's coming to Young's Dairy soon. I think you should sell tickets to see that one. I learned that when you get ice cream at Young's, be careful and really read the label, or else you might end up with butter garlic with dill, and that's not chocolate.
Don't do it.
That's right. That's right. All right. Well, hey, thank you very much, John. I'm giving John his new title, which is the Walt Disney of Dairy. Ooh. I said it. You can take it. So thank you very much for joining us today. I'm Scott McLaughlin.
I'm Chris Kiernan.
Saying we'll see you at work.
Thank you for listening to the Not in the Job Description podcast. If you have a story you'd like to share, or if you'd like to be a guest on our podcast, please let us know by sending us an email with a brief description of your story to stories at notinthejob.com.